I want to take you now to one Arizona county where elections officials are going to great lengths right now to try to be as transparent as humanly possible, trying to get in front of potential claims of ballot fraud. We're talking about Maricopa County, home to cities like Phoenix, Scottsdale. Some 60% of registered voters in the state are from Maricopa. And you're taking a look at that county's ballot processing center here. The county has been investing millions of dollars over the last few years. They've changed security of the building, the process. They've got live streams 24/7 in every room in the tabulation center, an ultra-secure ballot vault, and a whole lot more. The county's elections director talking with our Liz Kreutz about why it's all so important.
When a ballot leaves somebody's hands, the further it gets away from them, I think the more nervous they get about it. And so we want to show them that where their ballot goes doesn't have to be a mystery. You can see for yourself every step of the way.
Let me bring in Liz Kreutz, who's live for us now out in Phoenix. Liz, we saw that conversation you had. So give us a bigger sense of what's happening ahead of the election, why it's so important in the eyes of these officials.
Yeah, Hallie, I mean, transparency is the word of the week for them right now. Them wanting us to come in, giving us the tour, all of that is a strategic thing here because they feel like if they are as transparent as possible about this process, they can try to mitigate and counter any of these election fraud, attacks that they might get. We have video from inside, and Hallie, it's fascinating to see this process here. They have these election workers that work in pairs, one Republican and one Democrat. They sit next to each other together in civility. We're told they sometimes even become friends, and they open the ballots, they process them. If there's any that have any irregularities, they get flagged, and then those pairs will go through and together come to a conclusion on what they should do. This is all part of the process, and this year in particular, in addition to having 24/7 live stream cameras, they also have this new ballot vault where they keep the ballots. Take a listen to the elections director.
So this is one of the most important rooms in this entire building.
Absolutely, and we're very fortunate to have it. It's state of the art, and the county has invested heavily in making sure that ballots are safe and transparent. And you can actually also watch this live on camera 24/7.
So again, all of this, Hallie, all of this was in place for many years. Some of it's been ramped up, but all of it to try to mitigate and get ahead of any claims of voter fraud that they might get, given it's probably going to take several days for them to have results here in Arizona.
So I have to tell you, Liz, as we're all thinking about kind of heads of the game for election night, right? And when I think about Arizona, one of the first things that comes up for me is this idea of election denialism, because it feels like in so many ways it is one of the epicenters for that. You have the Senate candidate in Kari Lake, who is one of the country's most notable election deniers. You have what happened to, for example, Rusty Bowers, and that this former state speaker there basically getting pushed out of office for not latching on to those election denial, election fraud lies. It is if in so many ways it is the shadow hanging over the election. And shadow sounds ominous, but you've got now a bipartisan push, Republicans and Democrats working together to try to push back against this very thing, right?
Absolutely. I mean, just to be able to show you that, what you just said, the best visual of that is where we are right now. And I want to show you just the security here. Multiple layers of fencing that they've had to put in over the past 4 years. They've spent $10 million to ramp up the security here. There's metal detectors when you get inside, Hallie. All of this because of the threats and attacks that election workers were getting. We wanted to interview some of the election workers inside who are working together. We told we can't, because the second they go on camera for an interview, they get attacks. And Hallie, just one last thing. Basically, they're preparing for this week for potentially more protests. 4 years ago, the protesters got all the way up to the door, like banging down the door. Now, this is the area where I am that the protesters will be allowed to come, but they are planning to have snipers, if they need to, on the roof here, and drone surveillance, all ahead of and planning what could be more protests to come.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.